My name's Tony Morbin, Executive News Editor at ISMG, and I'm your moderator for today's webinar, Beyond Patching, Understanding Web Exposure and Why It Matters. Our subject matter expert today is Aidan Cohen, CEO and co-founder Reflectiz. Modern websites are built on third-party apps, open source tools and marketing pixel scripts, most living outside engineering control. Traditional security scans can miss these new attack vectors entirely. Security teams excel at infrastructure and application risks, but most web threats don't look like traditional vulnerabilities. They're exploitation of exposure, not code flaws. Today's webinar explains what web exposure means, how attackers exploit it, and why you need a fundamentally different approach. We'll share real-world examples and show how exposure-based thinking helps prioritize risks, align teams, and prevent silent breaches. The discussion will also include web exposure versus vulnerabilities, understanding the difference, limitations of traditional scanning, why it fails in the browser, third-party risks, how apps, pixels, and tag managers create exposure, proactive detection using continuous monitoring and behavioral baselining, as well as practical exposure management, showing what it looks like. Before we begin, for those of you unfamiliar with Information Security Media Group, we're a global education and intelligence firm with 30+ international media sites in vertical sectors such as bank info security, gov info security, and healthcare info security, with more than 1.8 million members registered to our sites. If you have any questions for our speakers during the course of this session, please submit them via the chat window on your screen. And if you experience any technical issues while viewing today's webinar, please use the email address on your screen. Also, I do need to emphasize that the content being presented in today's webinar is copyrighted material and is meant for today's session and individual study purposes only. So if your organization would like to use the information presented in today's session or looking for customized training or education, please contact us. Our sponsor, Reflectiz, offers a proactive website security solution that continuously detects, prioritizes, and validates web threats, helping to reduce security, privacy, and compliance risks, all executed remotely for hassle-free implementation. Now, back to our subject expert, Aidan Cohen. Aidan's a cybersecurity entrepreneur with over 15 years experience, currently serving as CEO and co-founder of Reflectiz, the web exposure company. Before founding Reflectiz, he played a pivotal role in developing Cynet's technology, leading product and R&D initiatives, and managing the BugSec hacking group. In addition, Aidan actively mentors and advises security-focused startups, helping founders navigate the challenges of building and scaling their companies. His current mission is to drive the evolution of Reflectiz, enhancing the company's threat exposure platform to set the standard in cybersecurity industry. So welcome, Aidan.
Hey there. Hey, Tony. Thanks for the introduction.
Excellent. Now, we're going to jump straight into it. Websites have become a major attack focus. But security teams are still looking primarily on it as infrastructure or cloud. What are the top web threats that get overlooked? And why do you think this gap exists?
So I think that from a security started, we all went to the classical infrastructures. We went to our endpoint security because we had the computers, we went to servers and firewall in the cloud. But the web was always a bit more complicated area. It required more application security expertise. It's a bit more agile, dynamic place. And when all of us get used to do production versus pre-production shift-left, I think the web was a bit overlooked. And I will give you an example. One of the key methods today in security, we calling it SDLC, software development lifecycle, right? We're developing application, we're doing a qualification, we're doing testing, we're going to production, and yes, we have a good application out there ready to use. In web, it doesn't work like this. Web applications, the way they are built, are dynamic by nature, meaning that even after you release your website to the actual world, it keeps changing on your production environment, even if you don't have a single developer working for you. That's how websites are built. They are open sources, they're loaded from remote servers. There are third-party pixels that can change on a daily basis from different vendors and third parties. And that's something that's a bit overlooked because it's not something the classic CISO is used to. He used to work in release. You have a new feature, you're testing it, validating it, going to release, validating, penetration testing, risk assessment, and you're out. Not in web. And that's, I think, a key thing that we saw when we started Reflectiz a couple years ago. You need to monitor and understand your website because the website is changing even after is on production. And I guess it's something we are going to talk about during our good discussion today. But that, I think, the main reason. It's a bit changed. When you think about other classic vulnerability scanners, they are scanning your asset, they are scanning your computer, they're scanning your server, they're expecting the same situation. The web is different. Every day, different website.
Absolutely. Now we're saying difference, and we've got pixels, tag managers, third-party scripts everywhere now. Why have these become such a common source of risk? And why don't traditional tools catch these issues?
Good question. So actually, you ask two different questions. Why they're not being detected and why they are a big issue. So let's start with why they are big issues. Pixel sounds to you as I have a small image. I don't know, Pixel has a nice image and the website, they're telling me who is in the site. But in web, nothing is simple. There is no just a small image or just a pixel. It's always code. All those terms that you just use, trackers, images, all of them are code, are JavaScript code the developers written that have access to do whatever it want on the website. As I said, website by design don't have permission base. So even one line of code of JavaScript can delete the entire website or change the entire visibility and all the inputs on the page. That's in one page. So when you're thinking about pixel and you say, okay, so I have Facebook meta pixel, I have a TikTok pixel. Okay, so what? I have a small image on the page? No, you not have a small image. You have a code that the different third party, not you, right, install on your site. And the third party have a full control of the code. It can change the code whatever it wants, and the code have a full access to your user data and user activity on your site. Now you tell me, Tony, if I will tell a CISO that, hey, this is a third-party code, a very nice third party, your best friend third party, allow him to put a code on your website that have full access to your website, can change your site without any permission and fully control from remote server. Are you okay with that? What do you say to me?
Absolutely not.
Hello, this is Pixel. And that's the key thing here, because the classic security, because it's a new risk, think about a pixel, okay, you can do tracking on user. Tracking is what they decided to do and the code they write, but they can do whatever they want. And who validate? Who make sure that it's only doing tracking? They, not the security. Who validate that they didn't change their code and now have a new version of their code, and this version doing another stuff? They, not the CISO. And that's the problem. I can give you a nice story that we got a couple of clients here in the state that got critical alert for us of one of their pixel leaking username and passwords of their account details. Pixel leaking username and password. So we got them critical alert. They said, no, it's a mistake, not a sense. They reach out to the third party and they tell them, oops, yes, sorry. We released a new version of the pixel, and by default, by mistake, it's collect all the data in the page unless being told otherwise. That's the part of risk of trackers and pixels.
Okay, so we're trying to
But
get a handle on this then. What's the starting point for getting real visibility into your web environment? And how can organizations secure their app supply chain?
so, from my point of view, you will need to start with something like Reflectiz. So the idea is that in order to get a real visibility on the web environment, you need to actually simulate activity on the web in order to trigger all those activities. So we will ask you differently. Usually, in the previous question, you ask why the normal traditional vulnerability scanner is not enough. And the question is that in order to get those pixels to collect user data, in order to get the open source to do their activity, you need to be in the website. Be, meaning take a browser, Chrome, Firefox, Safari, I don't care. Go to the site, click buttons, scroll down, scroll up, buy product, sign in, log in. You need to do activities because all those activities are the trigger points to the third parties to run. If you will just do a vulnerability scanning from remote, you will see open ports, we did it for years. You will see server version, Apache version 2.2, wow. We did it for years, you all know it. But in order to find the real problems, the exact stuff I just told you, the pixel leaking username and passwords, you will need to get to a point when you have the username and password, and you need to get to a point when someone typing username and password so someone can steal this data. How can you type username and password? You need to have a browser, you need to have a monitoring platform that can simulate activities, run those journeys on your site, and then to see who is there, which third parties and open source are there, what they are doing, when they are doing it, in which scenario, and only then, I believe at least, and that's why I built Reflectiz, you will be able to understand, really understand if what you wanted to have online is what you really have. Because your code is maybe the same, your developers are the best, you did amazing work, you have the best SDLC in the world, really. I'm not cynical. You have the best SDLC in the world. But if you have a third party that's leaking all your user data, it's not something you're going to see in the SDLC. It's not your developers even. They just put the pixel or the tag. And I think that's the beginning. So we are calling it today web exposure management. It's as you probably all the audience here know, Gartner and the market define a new term called exposure management, CTEM, continuous threat exposure management, meaning to have the ability to not just looking for vulnerabilities, that's to actually manage the risk, to manage the exposure risk. And the risk is not only vulnerabilities, it's the context, it's the prioritization, it's the third party, it's a lot of stuff. And we believe that we are doing that to the web ecosystem. We're taking all those third parties, all those open sources, all the vulnerabilities. Yes, we still need to look on the vulnerabilities. We can't ignore the vulnerabilities, but putting them on a context so we understand if you have a real risk or not. If it's your marketing website or your online account website, that's a different story. You can't take XSS from your marketing website and XSS from your production online website and say this is the same because they're both XSS. No, because there is context, there is the position, the type of data you have there. And that's why you need to see it in a bit more, as Gardner saying, not done, exposure management. Discovery, scoping, prioritization, validation, and then of course mobilization in the organization. And that's what I think is day one. And once you start, you're going to see that you can manage the risk. So once you have the idea of how the web is working, and you remove some of the classic ideas about why SDLC is not enough, or why you need to have SDLC on production in that case, or why you need to monitor post changes, then you're going to be a lot more easy for you to really manage the risk, because it's going to become very clear what to do next.
Now, many teams struggle to manage their scripts and trackers across departments. How does centralized web asset management help security teams to stay in control without slowing down marketing or product?
I think it's an interesting question, because I can ask this question in a different way. So today, without Reflectiz or any other tool on that area, the marketing probably will do what they think they need to do, and the security won't even know about it. They will know about that when someone will call them and tell them you're leaking your data to, I don't know, third party, or you've been breached. Other organizations will take a different direction. They will tell the marketing, don't do anything. I'm not allowing you to put pixels or not allowing you to put trackers because we know they are a problem. And we actually have clients that came for us from both directions, either said no for everything or was blind and saying yes. So we believe that you can create one dashboard that the marketing can see, or the privacy, whatever, can see, and can see this is the list of trackers of third parties. Those are the list of the risk they are creating to you. They are taking this data, they're taking this username, they are not doing anything, they are very known, they are very popular. And now the marketing and the security can have one dashboard, one page. Don't need a lot of pages. Those are the list. Are you okay with them? Do you know about them? Then all the parties are much easier. The marketing know they can work. The security knows they have eyes. So if something pop up, if the marketing did a mistake, not even by purpose, by mistake, they did a bad configuration, something running, the security can see it. I believe that's the way we are doing here the stuff. It's going to advance the business, because the marketing need to have pixels. The marketing need to have trackers. I'm not against that. The dynamic world of today need third parties. I'm not against it at all. I'm just saying you need to have third parties with someone looking on them to make sure they're only doing what they're supposed to do. And that's why we believe we are not slowing down. Actually, we are making it much faster, because now we run. Now, when you have, I don't know, Reflectiz or whatever tool you decided to use, run faster. Use 15 third-party applications. Who cares? You have visibility, you know what they are doing, you're continuously monitoring them to make sure they're not doing something they're not supposed to do. Good luck. Go make money.
Okay. Now we've been talking really about spotting what the bad guys are doing and getting visibility, but everyone's talking really about shifting from reactive to proactive security. What does that look like when it comes to web exposure? And how does prioritization help reduce the noise?
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. I think many clients that we are starting with them are more reactive. They're getting alerts and they're resolving them, right? And it's something that we have a problem all entire cybersecurity. You have a SOC team, the SOC team getting 5,000 of alerts per day. They are trying to create processes to handle only the high alerts, ignoring the medium, super ignoring the low, and then they get being hacked because they're not looking in the 5 other places that they didn't get alert. It's I think your question here represents a much bigger problem in cybersecurity market. I will say that the idea that we build it and now, and if take the example about your previous question about marketing and the security, this is exactly the way to do it proactively. So instead of waiting for the bad fixer to do something bad, if you already have one page that listing all your trackers, summarize what they are doing, and you can say accept, not accept for the risk, you already proactively went to those trackers and decide what you want to have. So when you have an inventory and you have a full mapping of what they are doing, it's much easier to remove the unneeded one, to limit the wanted that have over permission or I don't know bad settings, and now you don't need to wait for a breach. Let me give you another example. One of the stuff we are able to find are open sources, which is very common. That's not stored on your servers. They're stored on someone else's server. It can be GitHub or any kind of CDNZS or any kind of online server. Now I'm coming to CISO, a big organization, and I see that on their login pages, when you have username and password, they are loading scripts from online open sources that anyone can take the code and change it. That's a tomorrow attack. Because tomorrow someone will change the GitHub or repository, will release a new version, and it's automatically on your website. So what is the recommendation? If it's on sensitive location, move it to your own servers. That's attack that's not happened. That's attack that was avoided because you were proactive. You got a risk factor, telling yourself, I'm loading from unsecured location, let's move it to secure location. So this entire idea of not waiting for the alert, you know, one of the problems I have even with my team here, that many times we are checking a site and they are saying to me, we have only 10 alerts, we don't have 20 alerts, we don't have 30 alerts. And I think, that's good. Alerts already mean you have a problem, already mean that damage has been done. I want to discover all those places that will be the alert 2 months from now, so we won't get it. I don't want to wait to, hey, now we have a tracker that's leaking sensitive data. Let's move the tracker outside of the place that you have sensitive data, so we will never have the option to do it. And that's how, at least I see the shift from reactive to the proactive, to the ability to say, yes, understand what we have now with an easy UI, which are very simple, with customer success. I know the challenges and we know there is always lack of resource. But once you do it, once you have a baseline of what you should have there, now it's easy. Now in theory, if something changes, it's breaking your baseline. Now it's much easier to detect those changes.
I know you're probably going to say what you've just said in terms of being proactive and reducing the amount of alerts in that way, but you're still going to get alerts. So how does Reflectiz help reduce alert fatigue for security teams from the alerts that are coming through?
Yeah. So you're right, and it's very connected to the previous questions about the amount of alerts. But except for the fact that we want to be proactive and reduce the generation of alerts, another thing that we do, and we can do it because we are in the web, that's one of the bonuses of the web, instead of triggering alerts for changes on your site, we are trying to trigger alerts for security behavior changes on your site. That sounds like two extra words, but it's a big change. And the idea is like this. Scripts, website changes all day long. You can have a new version all day long. You can have third-party changing on a daily basis. If you're going to get alert for every change of a third party, you're going to get 5,000 alerts per day, and you're going to ignore my alerts because it's too many alerts. So what we did is that actually we are assigning the activity that the third party, the script, the open source is doing, signing the security activity. So I don't care if it's a new picture of a new logo. I don't care if there is a couple lines of new code. I only care about the security stuff or security impacted stuff that the script is doing. Is it collecting new data? Is it sending data to a new domain? Is it accessing new APIs in the browsers? So we're taking, think about 50, 100 different indicators of stuff that security-wise it matters to you. And we are proving those, we signature those activities. Now, if you have a new version, if you didn't change any one of these settings, no alert. It's a new version that doesn't affect you. It doesn't affect the security. It's a new campaign, it's a new promotion, a new image, no alert. But, and only when the script will create a new security change, only in that you're going to get alert for the specific change. And that helps us to reduce the alerts to minimum because it's not everyday security change. Facebook doesn't change their pixel every day to create new security risk. They're turning the third-party pixel every day to have a nice banner, a nice campaign, more users analytics. Security-wise, you can change once a month, once 2 months, and then we are reducing the alerts to minimum. We're actually calling it a smart approval or smart behavioral approval. So we can approve the behaviors, we can approve the activities being done by the third party, and not the hash, not the code itself. The hash can change. The hash of the code can change every release. In web, the hash can change every build. Timestamp and stuff, every build is going to be changed. So we forget about the hash. Run the code like a sandbox, understand what is the activities the code is doing, take only the security interesting activities, only the stuff that can impact your security level, your data privacy. And if someone changing those items, only then alert about them. And that reduces the alerts to actually minimum, just to minimum.
And this is all part of your approach to monitor behavior of web components rather than scanning for known vulnerabilities.
Exactly. So we will scan for known vulnerabilities. If you're using old application jQuery, you will get an alert. If you're using an old application required JS, you will get an alert. Yes, of course. I can't ignore, the basics that we all came from. But I don't think that's the interesting part. I don't think the big attacks, the zero day, the big leakage in the news is going to come because you use old application jQuery. It's because you use application that misconfigured and leak your data, or you use a third party that's loaded from unsecured location and attacker got access to the location. So the idea of to taking those activities, those behavior, and detect the risk, I believe at least, that we're going to find the big stuff. And yes, if you do use old application version for open source, yes, I will alert you about it for sure. I mean, you don't want to have old application version on your site, but it's going to be 5% of my alerts, not 25. That's the key. It's going to be 5%. The common fix stuff, run sneak or some kind of AppSec in pre-production, you missed the vulnerability there, find it, Reflectiz, resolve it, all good. But the interesting stuff is going to do when you're trying to get the browser, start to simulate activity, running payload of the site, and understand exactly what's going on there.
One of the other big differences with the Reflectiz approach is that you monitor from the outside. How does that improve security and privacy compared to using an embedded or inline solution?
So that's a lengthy question. That's not a short question. Reflectiz entire idea, an entire design idea is to do it a fully external solution. That's the idea. We're not installing in even a single line of code on the website of the client. Nothing. So in theory, I can scan any website in 5 minutes. I don't need anything from the client. Now the goal, the core IP of the company was to make sure that even if I'm scanning from remote, even I can provide exactly the same value and even more than if I'm going to be embedded inside. That was the entire premise where we built the platform, and that's all of my R&D resource and everything we are building going to that direction. Now, we believe that you want to be external. You want to be remote. You don't want to be embedded inside. Why? First of all, if you're from remote, you can do whatever you want to check the site. You don't have any limitations. I can do millions of tests. I'm not going to create any performance impact, right? I'm from remote. I can support any type of activity, any type of API. When you're going to be installed in site, you have so many limitations. You can't run the task that we are doing because every task create a performance impact, create problem, create UI UX problem for the user. And anyway, if you are from remote and you are the browser, you don't have any limitation. I don't want to go too technical, but if you are a script on your site, you have context. You can't run outside of your context. So you won't be able to see all your trackers. You won't be able to see all the other scripts because you're not allowed. You are another script on the site. From remote, you can do whatever they want. So I can do all the tests that I want. I can find all the advanced activities being done in JavaScript and browsers without creating performance impact, without creating any problem, any noise, and without any limitations. But it's not only that. What we just discussed? We discussed about third parties and open sources, and CISO doesn't want to have a script on your site. Does the solution to third parties on your site is to add another third party on your site that's going to monitor all the other third parties? So I'm going to be the biggest problem to solve by my tool? I'm telling securities that I want to help you overcome a third-party security problem and not be the single point third party that have access to all the rest. So I don't want to be this third party to have access to the rest. I don't want to have access to user data. I don't want to have access to PII data. I don't want to create you data privacy issues or any type of high-risk vendors. If I'm going to be installed inline on the site, meaning that I have access to all user data, meaning that if I have a problem, a bug, a mistake, I can create performance impact, I can crash the site, I can create bad user experience. I'm going to be a very intensive third party of yours. Why? I want to solve you the problem. I don't want to create problem. And that's why we went to a fully remote external design, and it's working very well for us, by the way. Because for especially big enterprises, not only, but big enterprises, it's very complicated for them to start to install scripts all around the site. I think Reflectiz have around 10 or 12 Fortune 500 companies already working with us. Why? Because it's easy for them. It's just easy for them. They can just go to the platform and get the results because we are fully remote, no installation, no data privacy, so no security issues, no performance issue. You don't need to do pre-production, you don't need to do any testing. It's just ready from day one. So yes, for a question, the remote approach is like a core fundamental idea of how to really solve the problem without creating a new problem and actually the same problem you're trying to resolve.
Very good to see you're not creating a new problem. But obviously, I've got a traditional stack. I'm going to have, web application firewall. I'm going to have dynamic application security testing, content security policy. So why are these things still slipping through? What's missing from that traditional stack that you're going to find that I wasn't already catching?
So all of them are good and important, and all of them is part of the previous problem. So the WAF is looking for attacks, right? WAF looking for payloads and attacks. And we just discussed about that you don't want to be reactive and waiting for the payload to run. You want to detect all the third parties that are there before you have an attack. You don't want to wait to someone attacking your own servers to discover you're leaking data to a third party. That's not something the WAF will see. Or let's think about a DAS tool. DAS are running on pre-production. DAS are for your own developers. And if you remember, the first thing I told you when we just started, they are all used to go to your own developers. We're all used in the SDLC process to understand what I wrote. Where is the third parties in your SDLC? I don't remember you have Facebook or TikTok or Mixpanel part of your SDLC process. They are not there. You never test those pixel and trackers. You never test those open sources. So I think that they are important. I will say that I will recommend every company in the world to have a web application firewall. It's a mandatory requirement. You want to stop OS top 10 attacks. You want to have a firewall to block attacks. But you still need exposure management. There is a reason why Gartner, I think, promoting heavily now the entire exposure management item. Why you need to have exposure management if you have firewall and antivirus? In theory, if antivirus was enough, and firewall was enough. We could close cybersecurity market 15 years ago and have like an antivirus in the website, antivirus on your endpoint, and no security risk at all. But I think everyone here in the audience know it's just not good enough. You want to be proactive. You want to understand the risk. You want to find non-signature attacks. You want to start to find behavior attacks. There are other leaking points, and it's not always vulnerabilities. It's something can be misconfiguration. It can be mistakes. So there are a lot of items that I think WAF or DAS are just not going to see. They're not looking in that, and they're not be able to see it because they're not in the right place. And that's why you want to have, I believe, exposure management solution or web exposure management as us.
Yeah. I mean, traveling even further from traditional threats, looking to the future, the threat actors continue to keep evolving. They're using AI to scale their attacks now. What best practices can organizations take to stay resilient against this fast changing array of web threats?
I think that's the million-dollar question in everything in cybersecurity. Huh? How to fight AI? I don't know if I know the right answer. I will say that you want to fight AI with AI. So, for example, I think us and all the market are changing the product completely to be thinking AI, building AI, and make sure we are running fast as the developers. But if you're going specifically for the web area, I think the behavioral is the key here. Let me give an example. One of the most common attacks in web security is something called web skimming or Magecart in slang. It's like a small script that can keylog user data, whatever, and collect credit card numbers. It's all around the world. It starts from British Airways, the Ticketmasters, many high-profile hacks until today. And now it's AI. You can actually generate a Magecart stealer in 5 minutes, even 1 minute. You can generate, you make it polymorphic, you can change. You will never be able to understand the code is a stealer because it's auto-generated code. But the activity is still there. Magecart can be written in a million different ways, but it still need to read the credit card number. Write it whatever you want. And if I am the browser and I'm just listening to everyone that's reading the credit card number, I will find the Magecart. And that's the idea. So instead of looking for the vulnerable or doing hashing or signatures, I will just look on all the sensitive data and we see who is accessing them. And then write it whatever you want. If you're going to touch the credit card data, you're going to raise a flag. So I believe that all the behavioral concept that we made to not looking for signature-based attack, not looking for known vulnerabilities or known attacks or known framework. No, forget about it. See what the actual activity is happening on the site, on the browser level. It's going to be very hard of you to hide from it because you need the data. In the end, you're attacking to get this data. I would just beat the data itself and see who is trying to read it. But I guess the AI is it's a bigger concept. It's something we are thinking about all day long. I believe that in the web, we should be able to provide very good results to our clients, even if the attacker is going to change the code every day because of our approach. Because of our approach that we are the browser, so we have the data. And if someone wants to steal this data, we need to go to us and we will find it regardless of the code is doing that.
Okay. We've just got time to take a couple of questions from the audience before we finish. The first one, which you've spoken about already, about the remote model, asking for a bit more detail here. How does Reflectifiz's remote model compare to managing web security in-house? How do I explain the value of it to internal stakeholders?
So we already a bit, I think, discussed about it in previous questions. I will say that there is no perfect solution in the world. I assume that I can find a couple of results why the remote is not the best, and why the on-site is not the best. But I will say that what is the options? You can either get an easy solution that can run within a few minutes, not create any security problem, be ready in seconds, and not a problem. As I said, we are not a third party inside the site, or to install a third party on your side that have access to all of your user data, have access, can create performance impact, can create compatibility impact, and hopefully will try to find the same stuff we are doing. So I think that if you want, I don't know, if you're asking how to explain the value to internal stakeholders, I will say What do you want? To work 6 months or 12 months and integrate a new vendor, or get result in 5 minutes without any cost from your side? Because I think from that area, stakeholders will rather to work less and not to hire 5 new resources just to install scripts and all around their website and get result in day one. But technically speaking, in remote, you don't have any limitations. I almost can do whatever I want and do the advanced tests. I can test everything. I can change the entire JavaScript and of the website to make sure that nothing bad going on. When you're installed, you can't do it because every chance you are doing affecting your consumers, your visitor on your site. If you're doing a bit sense, the slide going to be slow in 5 seconds, or it's going to be broke. Not for everyone, going to broke only to 5% of your users. I don't think any stakeholders will want to get a site broken only to 5%. And by the way, doesn't even know about it. So attack it whatever you want, from the value of easy onboarding and easy value, or the fact that I can still give you the same value without breaking your site. I think both of them are good reasons to choose remote, but I think I'm
Oh no,
on the
absolutely.
remote
Yeah,
side.
yeah, flexibility there and speed of implementation. Next one, I need to maintain PCI DSS 4.0
Ah.
compliance. Can you help with that while still keeping my workflows efficient?
Yes, yes. Actually, PCI 2 years ago in the PCI version 4 added new big sections that everyone talk about in the market. 6.4.3 and 11.6.1. Those are very hard sections because they require you to have something like Reflectiz. So those sections asking you to create an inventory of all your third-party scripts and applications on your checkout pages, and to continuously monitor them to make sure they are not doing anything not supposed to do and not changing the site in a malicious or unplanned way. Now, Reflectiz is actually just doing it by nature. If everyone stayed until now, you probably understand, that's what Reflectiz is doing. So yes, we actually created dashboards for those two clauses, summarize all the applications and everything they are doing. You can approve, and you're passing in audits. I think we have like almost 57 or 60 only PCI clients. They're having audits as we speak. They're all passing the audit, so we know that the solution is more than enough, and we have many QSAs that also working and recommend for us. So yes, if you care about PCI version 4 because you are merchant level 1 or 2, easy. 5 minutes, you're going to be ready to go. As a reminder, no installation, fully remote solution. You're going to get everything ready, PDF, Excel ready for any audit, even tomorrow morning.
Excellent, good clear answer there. Finally, what's the most common misconception about web exposure? What should security leaders be thinking about differently?
I think the biggest misconception is that people think about web, they're thinking about OS top 10. They're thinking about WAF, and they're thinking about vulnerabilities on the website. By the way, from my career, you said in the beginning, I was in Backsec hacking group. I came from the hacking world. I did penetration testing, did cyber simulation. I actually hacked website for my living in my early day of my career. We are thinking about payloads on the website. We are thinking about finding SQL injection, XSS, misconfiguration. That's what we used to do. We did it for years to years. We have OWASP, open source application security framework or platform. We have a BARP suite and all the scanners. We are looking for payloads to run on the website. That's important. That's important. It's not the full picture. Today, from my point of view, most of the risk on your website are not coming from those payloads, because you don't need to have a bad malicious payload. You can just have a bad open source or a misconfigured third party or script loading on secured location. You can get all the data that you want without trying to hack the firewall and this SDLC and application security and all the PT. So I believe that the web exposure is the two part, is the active testing, running payloads. Yes, I'm not saying running payloads, but don't forget about understanding the entire risk you have in the web ecosystem. You're going to find many more problems you're not covering today, and they're probably going to be much worse, or much worse than the classic XSS low severity that you're finding all day long, and maybe not even exploitable. But yes, the third party leaking your data. So we are going to fix the XSS in low severity, but the third party take all your username and passwords. it's going to be the same day. You're going to ignore the third party and fix the low severity excesses. So I think it's a problem not in web exposure necessarily, in everything that web security even. We are all used, and I understand how it's happened. We grow up. Everyone did web security, grow up from the OAS and web scanner and Bob Suite. It's only part of the picture. And I believe today is not even the bigger part. It's part of the picture, is not the full picture. And I'm hoping this kind of discussions, and of course, all the materials we're providing and clients it's going to be in the market in the end. People understand, yes, you need to solve the entire solution if you don't want to be breached or leaking your data outside for any kind of vendor.
That's excellent, a comprehensive approach. So thank you, Eden, for sharing your insights and expertise today. And thank you at home for joining this session. And thanks to our sponsor, Reflectiz. I trust that today's discussion has provided some useful data points to enable your organization to address beyond patching, understanding web exposure and why it matters. We hope to see you again at one of our upcoming events. For Information Security Media Group, I'm Tony Morbin, and thank you very much again, Eden.
Was happy to be here. Tony, thanks for the great questions, and I'm available for any follow-up question. If something is not clear, don't be shy. I'm probably going to have my contact details in ISMG website, and we're happy to reach out if anything needed.
Excellent, thank you.